Hello and welcome to Sketch Together. My name is Pablo Stanley, and today I'm going to be taking you through my process when creating an illustration library. So on this tutorial, we're going to be making an avatar illustration library that is all hand-drawn. So we're going to be using different tools for this. We're going to be using Procreate to just draw all of our doodles. Then we're going to be using Adobe Illustrator so we can vectorize those doodles. And then we're going to be using Sketch to put everything together into a library with different symbols and nested symbols. And that way you can mix and match different elements and just combine them and have a ton of different combinations. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is just open Procreate, and then I'm going to create a new document, a new canvas. So now the first thing I want to do is create a sketch that I can use to draw my characters on top of it, just like a guide that I can use. So something that I really like using is going to the canvas and using a drawing guide, and then from the drawing guide using the symmetry one. And this will allow me to create a symmetrical figure of our character. And there you go. So now I have this line, and whatever I draw on this side, you see how it's drawn on the other side. So this can allow me to just create a character. So just like, for example, like this is going to be the face. For example, this is going to be the eye line, the bottom of the nose, and then potentially around here is going to be the mouth. Around here, yes, this is going to be the hairline. The symmetry really helps me create this super quickly. Let's add also some ears. Now I'm going to turn off that guy. I'm just going to say, I'm going to turn it off, going to turn it off again here. And then I have my first sketch. I actually want to, I'm going to create a new one on top of this one, only so that that is a little bit cleaner than this. So there you go. Now I don't need this one. Now I have my guide. My guide, I'm going to just put it over here. I'm going to actually make it a little bit smaller. So I'm going to use the uniform. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. That way I can create multiple of these. I'm going to repeat a grid of these elements so I can use them as a guide. I'm going to copy it so I can use 3 fingers and like that, and then copy and paste. There you go. I have a copy here. Around there is good, I think. I'm going to copy it again. Copy, paste. There you go. Now we have 3 guidelines. Now these, I can actually put them together. I can just like do this, and there you go. Now they're all one layer, and I can do the same where I can copy and paste. There you go. Now I can change the opacity of this around here. That way I can just use it as a guideline, and I can draw something on top of it. So that's only my guideline. I'm going to add my first layer, and on this layer I'm going to draw what is the expression. So I can just zoom in, and let's add our first expression is going to be just a simple neutral face, just simple, a little bit happy, like that. So as you can see, I'm only drawing what's inside the face right here. I'm not worrying about the hair, the jawline, the neck, or the clothing. Only the expression, only what's in the face. Let's do another one. Potentially this one is a little bit sad. Let's say that it's like this, really like that. Let's say that this one is really excited. And let's do another one where the person is angry. So the eyebrows go down like this, and potentially there's a frown, just like that. Let's do another one that's not incredulous. Let's do another one where the person is actually really furious. There you go. So now we have 6 different expressions that I can use on my system. If you want to add more, you can just turn off this layer, add a new one, and just add more expressions. But for now, I'm just going to keep that. And on this layer, I'm going to start adding what is the hair and the face. So it's going to be like pretty much the head and the hair. Okay, so let's create something where the hair is a little bit just like that, and yeah, just like this. The cool thing is that since the idea of this is kind of sketchy, it's okay if it doesn't look perfect. Draw this first. As you can see, I'm only worrying about this and even the neck, but I'm not drawing any of this part below. That's going to be a different layer. Let's do a big hair. I'm not painting all of this. I can just drag the color here on Procreate like this, and then it paints whatever. Ooh, look at that. That was a mistake because I left a little space open here. I need to close it, and then I can paint here. There you go. Okay, cool. So we have our hairstyles. Now what we want to do is the different bodies of our characters. And for that, we're going to do another layer. So let's see, hairstyle and head, expressions. This one is just the guideline. And now we have a new layer that is going to be our clothing. So I'm going to, let's do a simple one, just pretty similar to what we already have. Just like that. There you go. We could potentially fill it up so it's like a black t-shirt, you know. There you go. Let's do another one where this one is going to be more like a t-shirt and also a blazer behind. There you go. Okay, so now we have all of our elements. I can hide this one. I don't need the guideline anymore. We have all of our elements, and you can just keep creating more and more and more for your system. For this one, for the tutorial, I'm just going to use this. So now what I want to do is share this to my computer, and I want to conserve the layers. I want to keep the layers. So I want to go to share here and go to PSD. PSD will keep the layers, and that way I can just edit them and I can vectorize them. I like using airdrop because this just like really quickly puts it in my computer. So I'm going to here, it's Pablo is my computer. I'm just going to send it to my computer, and now the rest of the tutorial is going to be on my laptop. So here I have the PSD file that was sent from Procreate via airdrop. I have it here, and now I can open it, and I want to open it on Illustrator. So I can go to open and open with, just right click, and then go to this menu, and then just select Illustrator. And then here you have this option, and this option says compare layers to objects, flatten layers to single image. I want to compare the layers to objects. That way I conserve all the different layers and I can separate them. So I can say, okay. And I have the element here. And if you can see, all the elements are actually separated. So I actually have the background. I don't need the background. And I have all these elements here. I have the expressions, the body, and the face. Something that I like doing when I'm here in Illustrator working with stuff like this is pressing Command-Shift-H, and that will just create a blank canvas, and I don't have to worry about artboards. Okay, let's zoom in. So now what I want to do is select them and go to Image Trace. Image Trace is right here. That's the option I want to use. So I'm going to click on it. And then this, now you can see that now it's vector. Let me actually zoom in like this. All of this is vector now, but it still hasn't been rendered. So I want to go to the options here on the trace, this panel. And on this panel, I want to open advanced. That's the first thing I want to do. And I want to also say ignore white. I want to turn this on. That will only keep the black layer. That's all I need. And from here, the default is okay. So I can just go ahead and click on expand. This will actually turn it into vectors. So there you go. So the first step is selecting the image like this. Let's repeat it. Then selecting image trace. Once it's in image trace, I want to go to the options and say ignore white, and then expand. Let's do the same over here. Image trace, options, ignore white, and expand. Okay, cool. So as you can see, now everything is vectors. How cool is that? But there's still a lot of vectors, on these shapes. So what I like doing is to minimize the amount of vectors, is just select all of these. Let me zoom in here. And I want to go to Object, Path, Simplify. This will actually reduce the amount of vectors necessary for this trace. So I'm going to preview it. Right now, it's simplifying it a lot. So I want to turn this up a little bit more. So let's go to 93%. The shape is still there, but as you can see, now instead of 1,600 vectors, points, now I only have 673. That's pretty good. There you go. So now it turned all these vectors into, simplify them, and now I can use them on Sketch. So I'm going to open Sketch. Here in Sketch, I'm going to create a new document. And then here in the new document, I'm going to form my first avatar. So I'm going to ungroup, first of all, I'm going to ungroup all of this stuff. There you go. So I'm going to form my first avatar. I'm going to use this as my default. I'm going to copy this, paste it here. I'm going to do the same with this, the face. Paste it here. I'm going to kind of align it around there. And then I'm going to do the same with the body. This one, copy it, paste it here. I kind of align it around there. I think that's looking good. Yeah, around there is looking good. So I have my element here, and now what I want to do is turn this into a symbol. So I'm going to create a symbol. I'm going to call it avatar. That's going to be my default avatar. Now that it's a symbol, I want to double click on it. And first of all, I want to actually add a little bit of padding to it, just a little bit of space around it. I'm going to make the artboard a little bit bigger, just to allow for bigger hair and bigger clothing, and just to have a nice padding around it. So now I want to center these elements around there. I think around there is kind of like the optical center. I'm going to center the expression. I think the center of the expression is around here. And then this element, it looks like it's not perfect how I drew it. So I can still, I can ungroup it and I can transform it if I want to. So I'm going to transform it just a little bit. There you go. Now it's looking a little bit better. So now something else that Illustrator does is that it has some weird elements like this one. It creates some masks that are called clips. So what you can do is just search for clip and then remove those elements. If you're just copying, pasting like I'm doing from Illustrator, you can just delete those layers. You don't need those layers. There you go. So now I have my head, I have my expression, and I have this. So I actually want to turn those into symbols too. So I want to turn this one into its own symbol. So it's going to be head, and then short hair. That's what I'm going to call it, short hair. Then I'm going to do the same with the expression. So I'm going to turn into face, neutral, just a neutral expression. And then this one is going to be called just like a body t-shirt. There you go. So now I have these elements, and this is starting to look like my system. So I want to, just as we did before, I want to add a little bit of padding, just to allow enough space for bigger hairs. And then the same with the face. I'm going to add a little bit of padding. That way I can have bigger expressions. Same with the body, just a little bit of padding. All I'm doing is pressing Option and then transforming. That way it transforms top, left, and right. There you go. And the element remains in the center. There you go. Now I want to start pasting the other elements. So I want to start forming my my little system. So first of all, I'm going to duplicate this element. This element, it's over here. So now I can paste another face here. But before that, I want to have a guide. That way, all the different faces, all the different heads are aligned. So I'm going to call this guide here, and I'm going to turn the opacity down. That way it's only a guide that I'm using. And then I'm actually going to lock it. That way, whenever I paste something, I'm not accidentally touching it. And then we're going to remove it later. But for now, we just need that guideline, that guide there. So I'm going to copy this element, copy it here, paste it, and here, see, this is why we needed the guide. That way we can align our elements. There you go. I'm going to duplicate this element over here. I don't need this anymore. Let's copy this hair. Let's paste it here. Now let's align it with our guide. There you go. It's not perfect, but it's almost there. It's almost there. By the way, it's okay if the elements go outside the canvas. It's okay. It doesn't matter. It will still render on Sketch. Let's duplicate this guy. Let's put this hair, the Mia Wallace hair, and let's start aligning it. This almost fit perfectly. There you go. It's right there. And now it's very important that you actually name these like in the right way. Right now, this is called short hair, but that's actually the same as this. So you want to go here, back here, and for example, call this long hair. Long hair. Potentially, this is a bun. Let's go and call it a bun. Let's call it a bun, and then and so on. We're not going to do that right now, but you know what I'm talking about. It's very important that you change the names. That way you can find them later. Okay, cool. So I have that. Now I can remove the guide. I don't need the guide anymore, so I can just search for those over here. I can filter those. I can just select all of those elements and delete them. I don't need them anymore. There you go. So now let's actually test it over here. Let's test it on our page over here. We have our avatar. I should be able to change the face, the head. So I can change it to this, change it to this, change it to this. There you go. How cool is that? And now we want to do the same with all the expressions. So we're going to be following the same process as we did before. I'm just going to keep this as my guide. So over here, I'm going to call it guide actually. Guide, then I'm going to reduce the opacity, I'm going to lock it, and that way it's just a guide, and then I can just start copying and pasting my different expressions. It's almost perfect. There you go. Looks like I don't even need the guide on this. Look at that. Just like that. Yeah, it's the guides are pretty unnecessary on the expressions. Since the expressions are pretty symmetrical, it looks like they're not as necessary, but still good to have them just in case. There you go. They just fall right in place. I love it when things just work, you know? There you go. And so on. So I'm going to speed up the process on the rest of these, so you don't have to watch that. And then I'm going to come back and see the whole system put together. Okay, let's do it. Okay, so we are back. We have all of our elements in place. I'm going to use this plugin that I really like that is called Cymbals Organizer. Just going to run it, and then it just organizes all my symbols in alphabetical order and just puts them in the right place. I love using that plugin. So now everything is there, and now I can go back to my page, and I can actually just start duplicating this element, and I can start changing the clothing. For example, I can change the head. Can change the expression to something else. Look at that. Oh, it's sad. Let's make this one. It's a little bit happier. There you go. Change it to this cloth. It's a happy Steve Jobs. There you go. Let's change this. Let's change to a different expression, and so on. That's the beauty of this. Now, with one single element, with one single symbol, you can just create an amount of combinations. That's the beauty of all this, and it's I don't know, I have so much fun when I'm creating this kind of stuff because it makes me super efficient just on my illustrations, because now I can just reuse this stuff and just put it together. So you can get as complex as you wish on this. For example, I created another library that is called Humans. With this illustration library, you can see that you can create really cool stuff. All of these are the same component, the same symbol, just with different variations. So if you go over here to my symbols, you're going to see all the different combinations. So different bodies, different legs sitting and also standing. like that, and then the different faces. And on this one, it's actually looking to the right. So it's looking to the side, so the faces are a little bit different. And all of this is vector too, so you combine it, you can create really cool stuff. Let's see, and you can use it in different templates. So for example, here, all of these are the same component. So yeah, that's the beauty of this. This was just a very simple hand-drawn illustration library. I would love to see what you create with this. I'm sure that you're gonna come up with some pretty cool stuff. Let's change the head of this. Let's change it to that. Look at that. That's super cool. So yeah, so leave in the comments if you want me to create something else, something different. If you create something like this, leave a link to what your creation to. And that's it. Thank you so much. My name is Pablo Stanley, and I say adios.